When I was first diagnosed, some of the things that had gone through my mind after the initial shock and thinking about how family and friends and how I was going to deal with this was, how will this infect my day-to-day life? Um, Really, how am I going to get up every day, get on a train, schlep to the city, go to work, come home, and still have time for treatments and just get myself better? Initially, I was just so overwhelmed, and the thoughts running through my head were, won't I be really fatigued? How fatigued will I be? Am I going to have cognitive problems? My job as a copy editor is really all mental, so if that starts to go, what am I going to do?
When you first have a diagnosis of MS, there's a lot of other issues that are going on. You might have just been given some information, a diagnosis, there's emotional things going on. So what is important is to be mindful of beginning to address the issues. The real importance is not to leave your job. So the first thing is you take a deep breath, think of all your options before you make a move.
When I was diagnosed, I was 25. And rather than the typical 25-year-old who's probably not thinking about the next 30 years of her career, I'd really have to think about it much sooner, because what if I had to stop working, or what if I needed some accommodations sooner? I've tried to read up as much as I can about accommodations that are legally available to me when I'm at an employer. I also have been looking at my skill set and seeing how I can apply those things to different jobs, and if the possibility of needing freelance, need to do it on a freelance basis rather than a 9-to-5 everyday job, which may be more taxing on myself. I found a job that was closer to home, and it ended up being less stress, which I feel has really helped my MS and my symptoms.
I think the best strategy is to say, let me be realistic and be proactive and see what I'm able to do on my current job that will allow me to do the essential part of my job within the larger scheme of making some slight modifications. So it don't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. It's just about being realistic and having that conversation with your physician. If you really are in a position where you cannot do your job anymore, but you sort of want to stay within the same field, then you want to start saying, what are my resources out there? It's a time to begin to think about what are realistic options. What are my transferable skills? And that's a very big issue, because we all tend to think of ourselves, I'm a counselor, I'm a teacher, I'm this, I'm that, and not really look at all the skills that we have that we can transfer to another field or something within that field. One of the things is a wonderful, wonderful website which is called the Job Accommodation Network. And it's a great wealth of information based on different kinds of disabilities, and gives you really wonderful ideas as to just to begin to incorporate what might be relevant to your particular job. The other thing is, if you're really beginning to say, I don't really know what else I want to do. It's a very hard question when people say, what do you want to do? It's an easy question, but very hard to answer. Department of Labor also has a wonderful website which is called ONET Profile. And the ONET Profile provides you an opportunity to really look at what your interests are, and it's done all by sort of exercises you can do from home, what your interests are, what your skills are, so that it gives you some kind of foundation of different job categories that you can begin to say, gee, these are where all my interests are, so maybe these are jobs that I would be interested in. And then read about them.
Probably about a year after I was diagnosed, I started really looking at things that might be available to me. I did look through my company into getting long-term insurance. I also made sure that my current health plan covered the medicines that I needed, my treatments, my doctors, and just ensured that anytime the plans were up for changing, that I stayed under the plan that would offer the best coverage for that.
It's really would be to your advantage to really look at what your benefit package is in terms of your employer. Do you have long-term disability? People think they don't need it. Take it. Take as much as you can. Sometimes there's an amount you can take, max out on it. Your medical insurance, sometimes it's expensive, max out on it. So it's really important to really look at the employment package that you're given and really discuss with your HR person if you can, and use as much as if you can, because you need to think proactively for the future.
Any way that I can feel normal and stay as normal as possible, whatever that is just important to me. And getting up and going to work, even on the days I don't feel like it, is still normal. Um, if I were to just say, forget it, I'm not going to do it anymore, I think then it would feel like MS had won. And getting up and going to work means MS hasn't won over me.